Could you live with yourself after discovering you transported 5 people to their murders for money? The app pinged at 11:47 on a Tuesday night, pulling me out of that foggy half-sleep I lived in now. I was parked outside the CVS on Mason Street, engine idling, heat blasting against the February cold. My daughter Sophia had fallen asleep 2 hours ago after I read her 3 chapters of the book about the girl with the magical garden, her favorite right now, and my sister Valentina was watching her in our apartment 6 blocks away. I had 4 more hours before I could go home, 4 more hours to make another $60 to get us closer to the $1,800 we still owed for this month's treatment. The passenger request flashed across my cracked phone screen. Pick up at the Meridian Hotel downtown, drop off at an address in the industrial district near the harbor. Estimated fare, $22. I accepted it without thinking, the way I accepted everything now, just another ride in an endless chain of rides that kept Sophia alive. I've been driving for Uber and DoorDash for 11 months, ever since Sophia got diagnosed and the medical bills started arriving like a flood that never stopped. 70 hours a week, sometimes more, sleeping in 4-hour chunks, living on gas station coffee and whatever food I could grab between rides. My ex-husband Gabriel sent $300 a month when he remembered, which was maybe half the time, and that barely covered our rent. Everything else, the $8,000 a month for Sophia's chemotherapy, the specialist appointments, the medications that cost more than my car, that was all on me. The passenger was named Lucas Bennett according to the app. 5 stars, 23 rides, member since last year. Normal enough. I pulled out of the CVS lot and headed downtown, passing the shuttered storefronts and the 24-hour diners where other night shift workers grabbed their meals. The streets were mostly empty at this hour, just a few other rideshare drivers and the occasional police cruiser. Lucas was waiting outside the Meridian when I pulled up, a tall man in his 40s wearing a dark coat and carrying a leather briefcase. He climbed into the back seat without a word, and I started the route to the Harbor District. The app showed an estimated arrival time of 28 minutes. We rode in silence for the first 10 minutes. I was used to that, the passengers who didn't want to talk, who just wanted to get where they were going. I kept my eyes on the road, following the blue line on my phone's GPS, taking us through downtown and toward the industrial area where the warehouses and shipping facilities clustered near the water. You work late hours, Lucas said suddenly, his voice flat and calm. Yeah, I said. Got bills to pay. Don't we all, he said, and then he went quiet again. I dropped him at a warehouse address on Harbor Drive, one of those anonymous buildings with no signs and barred windows. He got out without saying goodbye, walked to a side entrance, and disappeared inside. The app logged the completion, added $22 to my nightly total, and I was back on the road hunting for my next fare. 3 days later, Friday morning, I woke up to a notification that $500 had been deposited into my bank account. The transaction just said bonus payment with no other information. I stared at it for 5 minutes, convinced it was a mistake, that the bank would catch it and take it back. But it stayed there, solid and real, and I used it to pay down part of what we owed the hospital. I should have questioned it more. I should have called Uber support, asked what it was for, made sure it wasn't some error that would get deducted later. But I was so tired, so desperately tired, and $500 meant I could work 60 hours next week instead of 70, meant I could spend 1 extra night reading to Sophia instead of driving strangers around the city. So I accepted it the way I accepted everything now, as a small piece of luck in a life that had stopped offering any. The next Tuesday, another ping at 11:47. Different passenger, same Meridian Hotel pickup, different drop-off location. This one was a woman named Ella Martinez, 38 years old according to her profile, 4.9 stars. She got in wearing workout clothes and holding a yoga mat, looking like she just left a late gym session. Thanks for picking up so late, she said, settling into the back seat. No problem, I said. Where are we headed? The app had already set the destination, a residential address in the West Hills neighborhood, about 35 minutes away. I pulled into traffic and started the route, cutting through downtown and climbing into the hills where the houses got bigger and the streetlights got scarcer. Ella made small talk for the first 15 minutes, asking about my night, telling me about her yoga class, normal passenger conversation. Then she went quiet, scrolling through her phone. I watched the road, counting down the minutes until I could accept another ride, make another $20 or $30. I dropped her at a modern house with floor-to-ceiling windows and a long driveway. She thanked me, gave me a wave, and walked up to the front door. I logged the completion and drove away, already pulling up my next request. 4 days later, another $500 bonus. Same notification, same vague description. I checked my ride history, looking for what might have triggered it, but there was nothing unusual. Just a normal mix of airport runs and bar pickups and people going to work or coming home from work. I deposited the money and paid another chunk of Sophia's bills. It happened 3 more times over the next month. Tuesday night, 11:47, Meridian Hotel pickup, different passenger each time, different drop-off location each time. A man named Nathan Hughes going to an office building on the east side. A woman named Victoria Reed heading to an apartment complex near the university. A man named Julian Foster being dropped at a restaurant that looked closed for the night. And every time, 3 or 4 days later, another $500 bonus appearing in my account with no explanation. I should have seen the pattern. I should have noticed that all 5 rides happened on Tuesday nights at exactly the same time, from exactly the same pickup location. I should have questioned why these particular rides were earning me bonuses when hundreds of other rides didn't. But I was working 70-hour weeks again because Sophia's treatment plan had changed and the new medications cost more, and I was sleeping 4 hours a night, and my brain felt like it was wrapped in cotton wool, and the bonuses meant we could keep the lights on and keep buying groceries and keep Sophia alive. It was Valentina who made me start paying attention. She came over on a Sunday afternoon while I was sleeping before my night shift, let herself in with her key, made coffee in my kitchen. When I stumbled out of my bedroom at 4 in the afternoon, she was sitting at my table looking at her phone with a strange expression. "Have you been watching the news?" she asked. "I don't have time to watch the news," I said, pouring coffee. "There's been 5 murders in the past 6 weeks," she said. "All professional hits, according to the police. They're calling it gang-related, some kind of organized crime thing." I drank my coffee and tried to wake up enough to care. "That's terrible." "The first one was a guy named Lucas Bennett," she said, watching me carefully. "Shot in a warehouse on Harbor Drive. Found in 2 days after he was killed." My hand stopped halfway in my mouth. Lucas Bennett. The first Tuesday night pickup, the man with the briefcase going to the warehouse. I'd dropped him off, driven away, collected a bonus 3 days later. "What?" Valentina said, seeing my face. "Nothing," I said automatically. That's a coincidence." But I was already thinking about the other rides. Ella Martinez, Nathan Hughes, Victoria Reed, Julian Foster. 5 Tuesday night rides. 5 $500 bonuses. After Valentina left, I opened my laptop and started searching. Lucas Bennett, found dead in a warehouse. Ella Martinez, killed in her home in West Hills. Nathan Hughes, shot in an office building parking garage. Victoria Reed, strangled in her apartment. Julian Foster, stabbed outside a restaurant. All 5 found dead within 24 hours of me dropping them off. All 5 people I transported on Tuesday nights from the Meridian Hotel. I sat there staring at the screen until my alarm went off telling me it was time to start my shift. My hands were shaking. My whole body was shaking. I'd driven 5 people to their deaths. I'd been paid $2,500 to transport murder victims to their execution sites. I was an accomplice to 5 homicides. I couldn't work that night. I called in sick to Uber, deactivated the app, sat on my couch in the dark thinking about what I'd done. Except I hadn't done anything, not really, not knowingly. I was just a driver following GPS instructions, accepting rides the algorithm sent me. How was I supposed to know those passengers were going to be killed? How was I supposed to prevent something I didn't know was happening? But I had accepted $2,500. I had taken blood money and used it to pay my daughter's medical bills. That made me complicit, didn't it? That made me part of it. I didn't sleep that night. At 6 in the morning, I found the USB drive wedged under the passenger seat of my car, a small black thumb drive that definitely hadn't been there before. I took it inside, plugged it into my laptop, and found one folder containing dozens of files. GPS logs from my car overlaid with police crime scene locations. 5 perfect matches. Videos taken from security cameras showing me dropping off passengers at the exact locations where they'd later be found dead. Bank records showing the 5 bonus payments and where they'd originated from, an encrypted account registered in a country I'd never heard of, and one text file labeled Driver 4-Star Protocol. I opened it. The document was technical, full of code and encryption keys and network addresses I didn't understand. But the summary at the top was clear enough. Someone had hacked into Uber's algorithm and was inserting fake ride requests, using drivers like me to unknowingly transport targets to execution sites. The system identified suitable drivers, people who were desperate enough and distracted enough to not notice patterns, people who needed money badly enough to not question unexpected bonuses. The algorithm tracked completion rates, driver compliance, target confirmation. It called us 4-star drivers. There was a list at the bottom. 47 names with completion rates next to them. Driver names I didn't recognize, routes and cities across the country. And at the top of the list, highlighted in red, Camila Rodriguez, 5 completions, 100% compliance rate, approved for escalation. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number, driver 4-star completion rate 5 out of 5. Next assignment Friday 11:47 p.m. I threw my phone across the room and watched it shatter against the wall. For 3 days I didn't drive, didn't leave my apartment except to take Sophia to her chemotherapy appointment on Wednesday. Valentina kept asking if I was okay and I kept lying and saying I was fine, just tired, just needed a break. Sophia knew something was wrong because I couldn't stop holding her, couldn't stop watching her sleep, couldn't stop thinking about what I'd done to keep her alive. Thursday afternoon the hospital called. We were past due on last month's treatment. They needed $8,000 by Monday or they have to postpone Sophia's next round of chemotherapy. I looked at my bank account. $342. I'd used everything else paying down old bills, catching up on rent, buying food and gas and keeping us afloat. I could sell my car, but then I couldn't work. I could borrow from Valentina, but she was barely making rent herself working 2 jobs. I could call Gabriel, but he'd stopped answering my calls 2 months ago. There was nowhere to get $8,000 by Monday. Except I knew exactly where to get it. All I had to do was accept one more ride. Friday night I reactivated my Uber app at 11:30. I sat in my parked car outside the CVS on Mason Street with the engine running and my hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles were white. I could still back out. I could refuse the request when it came. I could go to the police, show them the USB drive, tell them everything I knew. But if I did that, Sophia would miss her treatment. She'd get sicker. We'd lose the apartment. I'd probably go to jail for being an accomplice to 5 murders. Who would take care of Sophia then? Valentina couldn't afford another person to support. Gabriel didn't want the responsibility. My daughter would end up in foster care while she was dying. The app pinged at 11:47. Pick up at the Meridian Hotel. Passenger name, Nathan Clark. The profile photo showed a man in his 50s wearing a white coat and a kind smile. Sophia's oncologist. The doctor who'd been treating her for 11 months, who always made time to explain things to me, who held Sophia's hand during the scary parts. The destination address was listed as my apartment building. I stared at the screen until it timed out, then started again when the request came through a second time. This couldn't be real. They couldn't be targeting Dr. Clark. They couldn't be targeting me. But they could. Because I'd proven I was compliant. Because I'd accepted the money. Because I'd looked the other way 5 times already. Because I was exactly the kind of person their algorithm had identified, desperate and tired and willing to do anything to save my daughter. I accepted the request. The drive to the Meridian took 12 minutes. Dr. Clark was waiting outside, wearing jeans and a dark jacket, looking nothing like he did at the hospital. He opened the back door and climbed in, and when he looked at me his kind smile was gone, replaced with something cold and calculating. "Hello, Camila," he said. "You've made excellent time. 5 stars." He was holding a syringe filled with clear liquid. I understood then. I was the 6th target. I was the one who'd seen too much, who had the USB drive, who knew about the protocol. They'd used me 5 times and now they were cleaning up. "Why Sophia's doctor?" I asked, my voice barely working. "Because you trust me," he said calmly. "Because you'd accept a ride request from me without question. Because the algorithm is very good at identifying optimal execution vectors." "I'll go to the police," I said. "With what evidence? A USB drive that encrypts itself every 72 hours? Bank records showing you accepted payment for 5 completed assignments? GPS logs proving you transported 5 murder victims to their deaths?" He leaned forward. "You're not a whistleblower, Camila. You're an accomplice. And now you're a liability." He moved fast, grabbing my shoulder with one hand and bringing the syringe up toward my neck with the other. But I'd spent 11 months operating on 4 hours of sleep, 11 months staying awake through exhaustion and fear and desperation, and my body reacted before my brain could catch up. I jerked sideways, slamming my elbow into his face, and he fell back against the seat with blood streaming from his nose. I was out of the car and running before he could recover, sprinting across the Meridian's parking lot toward the bright lights of the hotel lobby. Behind me I heard the car door open, heard footsteps following. I ran faster, pushing through the lobby doors, past the startled front desk clerk, shouting that someone was trying to kill me. "Please call the police. Please help." Hotel security grabbed Dr. Clark when he came through the doors 30 seconds later. The police arrived 6 minutes after that. I told them everything, showed them the USB drive before it could encrypt itself, gave them my phone with the threatening text, explained about the 5 rides and the 5 murders and the 5-star protocol. They arrested Dr. Clark, found the syringe in his pocket, ran his fingerprints and found out his real name was Simon Hayes and he was wanted for murder in 3 states. It took 4 months for the investigation to unravel the whole network. 47 drivers across the country, hundreds of completed assignments, a vigilante organization that had spent 6 years building an encrypted system to execute people they deemed deserving of death. Criminals who'd escaped justice, corrupt officials, people they decided deserved to die. They hacked rideshare algorithms, recruited unwitting drivers, created an untraceable murder-for-hire system that used normal people as weapons. The district attorney offered me immunity in exchange for my testimony. I spent 3 weeks in protective custody, gave depositions, appeared before grand juries, helped put away 32 people involved in the network. They seized the $2,500 in bonus payments, returned it to victims' families as partial restitution. Sophia's hospital agreed to a payment plan. Gabriel's parents, who I'd barely spoken to since the divorce, stepped in and started covering half the monthly treatment costs. Valentina moved in with us to help with childcare. I got a day job doing medical billing, regular hours, regular paycheck, no more driving strangers to unknown destinations in the middle of the night. But I still have nightmares about those 5 Tuesday night rides. Still see Lucas Bennett's face as he walked into that warehouse. Still hear Victoria Reed thanking me for the ride before I dropped her at the apartment where she'd be killed. Still feel the weight of every choice I made, every bonus I accepted, every time I was too tired and too desperate to notice what was happening. The thing about desperation is that it makes you compliant. It makes you accept things you shouldn't accept, ignore things you shouldn't ignore, become things you never thought you'd become. I spent 11 months as a weapon I didn't know I was carrying, pointed at people I didn't know needed to die, fired by people I never saw. I kept Sophia alive. I did what I had to do to save my daughter. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life wondering if that makes me a good mother or a monster, or if maybe it makes me both at the same time. The app is deleted now. I'll never drive for Uber again. But sometimes late at night when I can't sleep I still hear that ping, that notification sound that meant another fare, another $20, another chance to keep going. And I remember how easy it was to accept it, how natural it felt to just follow the blue line to wherever it told me to go, how simple it was to let the algorithm make all my choices for me. They convicted Simon Hayes of attempted murder and conspiracy to commit murder. He got 35 years. Before sentencing, he looked at me across the courtroom and said I should thank him for teaching me what I was really worth, for showing me exactly what I was willing to do when pushed hard enough. The judge told him to be quiet, but it didn't matter because he was right. I know exactly what I'm worth now. I know exactly what I'm capable of. And that knowledge is heavier than any prison sentence they could have given me, more permanent than any scar, more haunting than any nightmare. Sophia is in remission. Her last scan came back clean. Her hair is growing back and she's starting third grade in the fall. She has no idea what I did to keep her alive, no idea what those Tuesday night rides really were, no idea that her mother became a killer for hire without ever meaning to. I'm going to make sure she never finds out. That's my penance, my punishment, my price for the choices I made. I get to watch her grow up healthy and happy and whole, and I get to carry the weight of knowing exactly what it cost to make that happen. Sometimes that feels like justice. Most of the time it just feels like survival. But either way, I'm here, Sophia is here, and we're both still breathing. In the end, that's the only reading that matters. 5 stars for staying alive.